You guys asked for it. Let's be more tactical on a bunch of skills, such as handstands, muscle-ups, planches, levers, to get a lot more tactical in order for you to achieve these skills. We're going to break down a little bit more the handstand because it's a classic, it's super important, and as almost everyone here on the live call or here watching this video would love to get the handstand. And I myself have been coaching gymnastics for a very long time. The handstand is one of those fundamental moves that you must have and you must master in order to have a proper career. What we're going to do is talk about some of the common mistakes in the one simple way in order to fix it. When you kick up into a handstand, what you're looking for is a stacked line. So from your feet into your hands to be a straight line. Now it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. Theoretically, as long as your center of mass is in the middle, then you're able to keep it. So for example, if you were a big banana, such like this, where your shoulders are open, your feet are over your head, you could hold that, but it's going to be a lot more difficult when you get into other moves. Just think if I was standing up straight and I bent completely over one way or another, could I stand up like that? Yes, theoretically I could, but would that cause some problems? Yes, and if I want to do other things, such as something as simple as if I wanted to jump as high as I could, would that affect how that works? Yes. So it's the same thing with the handstand. It doesn't need to be perfect. We're looking for the most efficient way possible. And unfortunately, the banana stand is going to create more issues in the future. We want it to be completely stacked. So what are the common issues? If you're unable to keep your arms completely straight up to your ears, and you can do this test just standing up right now and just trying to put your hands stacking up right here. If you're unable to do that, then there's a mobility issue. Depending on how much it is, you could still work on the handstand, but that mobility is going to need to get fixed. Another test for mobility is just lay down on the ground, flat. Are you able to get your arms all the way to your ears with your back completely touching the ground without doing that arch? Then there might be a little bit of mobility issues. And again, these progressions will help a little bit. Another reason is you need to be able to feel and how to keep the balance. That's the reason why we strongly recommend working on the crow pose first, just to really understand how to progress by balancing on your hands and using your arms and hands to keep you in place. We've learned how to stand up for an extremely long time. You don't realize how many micro changes, how many muscles are used just to stand up because it feels extremely natural. We need to do the same thing with our hands. So the crow pose is how we do that. If the crow pose is still extremely difficult, meaning it hurts the wrists, the arms, you can't get your arms completely straight to get into the crane pose eventually, then that just means that you're missing a fundamental strength. So you just need to build on that a little bit, either through the crow pose or push-up progressions, just like we talked about earlier. If you can get to this one progression, that will solve most of the problems that we are going to mention right now. That is the handstand against the wall. Now you want your stomach towards the wall. Eventually, the goal is to get your hands as close to the wall as possible, maybe having just a little bit of space. Yes, it's going to take a little bit of effort and a little bit of strength, but for the technique, this is most important. Then the only thing that should be touching the wall is the sides of your hands, your nose, and your feet. If your hips, your thighs, or your stomach is touching the wall, then that means there's one muscle that is not being activated, or there's a joint or piece of your body that is not being activated or put into that stacked position. The hard part of correcting a handstand is that the moment you move one of these parts of your body, something else is affected by it. Such as if you put your arms towards your ears like you're supposed to do in a handstand and you start opening up your shoulder, your chest tends to want to open up or your ribs seem to open up. Well, if we do that, we're creating that banana stand again. And then you try to enter your ribs. There's a chance that your arms will come down or your hips will open and close. Same thing, if you open your hips, then you might lean back. If you close your hips, you might lean forward. It's going to take a lot of small adjustments in feeling it at first. It's the same feeling if you're trying to adjust your posture. If you've seen the videos online, or maybe you want to fix your next posture and have better posture, something as simple as just trying to stand up the right way, you can feel so many small muscles forced to be used, and it's hard to keep that position. So it does take time, but it is possible. Let's say you are now working on the handstand, and I would strongly recommend that you film yourself so that you can see these corrections and know what to fix. When you're going into the handstand and you're kicking up, there are only 3 ways that you can fail in the handstand. Number 1 is you fall towards your back, you fall back towards your feet the way you kicked up, or you crumple down. So the first one already talks about that if you are unable to keep your arms straight and pushed while you're kicking up, then you're just crumpling down, you don't have enough strength. So I would go back to a smaller progression, either against the wall or a crow pose. So you now have the strength in order to not crumple down, but yet you are unable to keep the position. Well, that's why the handstand against the wall is probably one of the best progressions to fix that. What you would start slowly doing is moving your hands further away from the wall. You would have one foot touching the wall, the other leg completely straight, and your body should still be stacked, even though you're away from the wall. So one wall is touching it, and slowly you're lifting that foot up in order to be fully in the handstand handstand and you go back down. Eventually you could do this with both feet. What does that do? That means you actually learn how to fix the handstand, because when you're into the handstand, they're really, like we said, if you're not crumpling down, you're either falling forwards or you're falling backwards. Either way, you are unable to keep that position because you are unable to fix it, either because the muscles in your body or the balancing within your hands. We've already worked on balancing with the hands, so now we actually need to use the muscles that need to fix the handstand. So just by being slightly further from the wall, and it's not much, it's about a hand's length, you have both feet against the wall, and then you lift both of them up, and then you're holding that handstand, and ideally you're keeping it there, and then you bring your feet back down. We call these handstand bounces. Not bouncing on your hands, that's a completely different thing. This is when you'd also do it with your back against the wall as well, because then you can fix it coming back up and coming back down. Let's talk about the small things you might not have noticed that make a big difference. Just like we said, you're either falling forwards or you're falling backwards. If you're falling backwards, means you're always coming back down and you're never actually keeping up the handstand, there might be three different things. One is that your kick is not strong enough. You're not actually kicking completely up. Watching a video playback will also show that. Another thing is your shoulders might be really closed in, as when you're kicking up into a handstand, you're starting with your hands like this and not your hands as close to your ears as possible. That means that when you kick up, you're actually more in an L instead of actually a straight line coming back up. And the last one is you're hesitating. You are scared to get completely up because a lot of beginners are afraid of falling onto their back when it comes to the handstand. That means you can either, one, start doing it in front of a wall so that if you do fall forward, you will onto the wall. Make sure the wall is actually solid and not make a hole in the wall like I have done a few times. But the main skill you actually want to learn is how to fall out of the handstand. You can do this when you are against the wall, stomach in front of it, to fall onto your back. Now, you're not falling onto your back. It should feel very similar to a cartwheel. When you start falling, you turn just slightly. If you do not learn how to do that, you'll be too scared to kick up and you won't be able to hold it. So like I said, use a wall, but at one point you do need to learn how to fall. Let's say now you're kicking up, but now you're falling always towards your back. Well, most of the time it's just because you've kicked extremely too strong, or what's way more common is that you are in that banana form, as in your legs have passed their center of gravity and you haven't keeping your abs in. So you got to keep those abs as tight as possible when you're kicking up, and you should be able to feel where's the tipping point. So it's a mix of what it feels like and also your core and everything keeping tight so you don't get into that banana form. Rewatching yourself in video will help see if that's happening, yes or no. So to recap, if you're falling forward, engage your core right away from the beginning, slow down your kick up, and fix your leg position so it's not in that banana position. If you're falling backwards, kick up stronger, learn how to fall if you're falling onto your back, open up your shoulders more, and keep your arms near your ears and fully commit. If you're not able to balance or you're crunching up, you need to get more arm strength and you need to learn how to balance, starting with the crow pose. All of these can be fixed or can be used properly by filming yourself doing the handstand and doing the drill of the handstand against the wall when you're able to, starting with stomach in front and then moving yourself slightly further to start doing the handstand bounces with your stomach towards it or your back towards it, or you're bringing your legs into the handstand position back against the wall to learn how to fix it and know what muscles to use. Talking about filming the handstand, everyone here live on the live call with the community, we're going to go into your videos and your handstands to actually break it down how you personally are able to fix it or what you need to work on. Every single person might be something different. You might not feel it and you might not know. If that seems interesting to you, then everyone here on the internet and social media, you can join the community free. There should be a link somewhere below. And everyone here, we are going to continue our deep dive tactical advice when it comes to certain moves, such as the handstand, muscle up, planches, levers, and so much more. And also based on your guys' suggestions, so the ones on the community, you guys decide which moves are more important to get more information and more of a breakdown. And regardless of what move you're working on, it is so cool and I'm so proud that you stay awesome.